Summer's a crazy time for many of us. The mind goes everywhere, it's very out. Everything is outside, which is good, the beach, the this, a lot of eating out, a lot of drinking out, but then we lose who we are, we forget, we get waylaid, and then we get complicated again, and the mind goes all over the place because something as important as our spirit is always the last one to be noticed. So back to life. Sri Patanjali tells us in the Kleshas, what is ignorance? Regarding the unreal as real, regarding the impermanent as permanent. What we think is nectar is sometimes poison. What we think is pleasant is not really pleasant. So what is reality? What is reality? Let's just start with that, back to source. What is reality? Many of you are yogis here, and we say all the time, I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, immortal self I am, and this is absolutely true. And last night I was having a wonderful conversation with Premanjali from the ashram, talking till 11:30, and she was saying she was studying Advaita. What is Advaita philosophy? Advaita philosophy basically means non-dual. We are one. That's what it means. And this is why I love this master, because if you look at the symbol behind you, it says, truth is what? Not so many. And if any of you have done pottery in your life, yes? So when you start, you got clay, right? I used to do a lot of sculpturing in university. Get a block of clay like this. And then with that block, I used to do busts, heads. I love people, so I always did faces, right? So I take that clay, wet it and make an armature, which is of newspaper on a base of wood, and I'd start to do the sculpture. From the same piece of clay, I would make a pot. From the same piece of clay, I made a wonderful sculpture of I called it the Four Sisters, myself and my three sisters, and it was a big sculpture, all from this same block of clay. And like us, we all come from the same block of consciousness. We all come from the same. So she was saying, her teacher was another teacher that she had. She used to be the secretary of our beloved master and traveled with him all over the world. And she said, I traveled with him for all over the world, but it didn't sink in. It didn't sink in. And how many of us know this, right? In the beginning you can say, I'm not the self, I'm not the body, I'm not this, but it doesn't sink in, because the moment a problem comes, we fall apart and we think we are the body, we are the mind, and we are all those things. And she said, but with this Advaita study I'm doing, and Shaivism study, she said, I am learning that I am this body, I am this mind too. And that is basically what we teach here at the center. As what Lord Jesus said very clearly, know that you are in this world, but not of this world. Now, spiritual people tend to make a big mistake. And when she said that to me yesterday, I said, I need to talk to everybody tomorrow. That's why you spoke to me tonight. We want to bypass the body and the mind. Yes, we're not this body, we're not this mind, but while we're living on this earth, we are this body. Yes, whoever you are. And we are this mind. So, we are, right? You feel your body, you can touch your body. Okay, and you are your mind. You can't bypass it. The study is to understand your body and understand your mind. You can't bypass it. I've worked with a lot of trauma patients, people with problems for many years, maybe anything. Most people have trauma in their lives, right? For example, I'm just staring at Annabelle because she's right in front of me. She's had the trauma of many deaths in her family, one after the other. Her brother, and then her father, and then her mother, and then illness with her daughter. It was one thing after another, So, of course, after a while, what happens to you? You develop what? Can you guess? Fear. Whether you like it or not. If you don't constantly remind yourself daily of the source, then what happens is you get entrapped in the pain and the sorrow. And this is why Sri Patanjali tells us it is, the theory of non-attachment. People think that when we talk about non-attachment, we mean coldness. It's the absolute opposite. Because you're not emotionally tied in a knot, why me, or why this, or why that, you can see from the source, this is my part in the play. Detach emotionally, and when you detach emotionally, what happens to you? You become neutral. When you become neutral, you become like water. Clear. Water is clear because there's none of your feelings mixed up in this pain or this trauma. Why? But no, it's none of this. It's happened. I know I am the witness of the mind. You can watch your mind think, can't you? All of you in this room, can you watch your mind think? Angel, demon. What happens? We judge everything we do too much. We judge everything. And when we judge ourselves, you can be sure you are judging everybody else. But if you can understand the simple truth of consciousness, that we all come from the same energy source. So you're one person, you're the other. Don't you think the universe is so incredible that we're all individuals? So rather than wasting our lives feeling victims to this earth, which will always give us pain, by the way, but it will also give us a lot of fun, okay? You've got to remember that part too. But it will give us a lot of pain too. We all suffer it. And if we can just get back to the source on a daily basis, when the shock comes, the mind will go immediately, whether you like it or not, no matter how much you practice. If you don't have it solidly in your soul, that I am just part of consciousness, coming through this journey through life. And I've come here to learn something. So rather than judge it, scream at it, get angry with it, blame it, what do? You sit with it. You go through the pain. You allow it because you are the body, you are the mind. So you understand the human being feels the pain. Accept it. No need to get so emotional and judge the pain. Why don't I shouldn't be, I'm this, I'm that. You're human. But I know intellectually that in time, this too shall pass. I know this. I also know nothing lost. True or false? And all of us that cling to that perfect thing that we think in our lives, our homes, our family, cling. The more you cling, watch what happens, the more pain happens. So the non-attachment allows this great love to happen within you, with your families, because you are not judging, or you're not expecting them to be what you want them to be. The moment you expect, you will get disappointed and you will suffer. And then, why has it happened to me? It's because you were expecting. But it's happened. So you do feel the pain. accept it and say, what have I got to learn from this? Do I need to learn to make boundaries? Do I need to learn to overcome it and transcend it? Do I learn to stop complaining? What is my lesson here? Because the lesson is for you. Any sorrow that comes to you is for you. Nobody else is to blame. I'd like to tell you a lovely story about an old friend of mine. Well, I've known her for over 30 years. She used to see me here many years ago when I first started. I was working in Westminster Clinic. And anyway, I won't go into her story, but I'll go into the story that matters about going back to the source. She struggled with religions. She struggled with belief systems. She loved coming to me, but from a Catholic background, she felt guilt. So she came in and out. I'm wrong, I'm this. Fine. I told her, find yourself. Anyway, she developed, well, she had a divorce, got very, very sick at a very young age, had cancer. And she left the country and she moved to somewhere in Europe. And after that, she's had remission, cancer reappear again. Remission, cancer appear again. When I saw her 2 days ago, she came visited only for 4 days. She was so thin, she's so young. She's only my daughter's age, which is 46. So young, so thin. All the operations on her legs, because they had to take this vein off and they thought they had to amputate her leg. All the cuts and the bruises, a huge cut here, and she was smiling. And she said to me, I finally understood my journey. It was always truth is one, paths are many. I said, how did you finally become solid and so peaceful when your body is cut up and you're so thin you don't know how long you've got? What made you become so peaceful? And she said to me, I had a near-death experience. So I said, talk to me. What happened? She said, Nalanie, I was in coma and then I died. And she said, when I lifted, she said, I saw so many souls. There are millions. Did you know there are millions of souls when you go there? Yeah. And guess what? You know, I just thought I'd like to meet Wayne Dyer. Any of you know Wayne Dyer? Yes. I love his work, right, too? And I said, oh, lucky you. Well, anyway, and Louise Hayes. Well, Louise Hayes has also done a lot of great work, right? Taking psychology to spirituality. This is what, know your body and your mind first before you go to spirit. Because if you try to bypass, you can go Kundalini crazy, which means you can go nuts because you haven't worked with yourself and you're trying to get somewhere. So you're constantly in denial of your human form and your human gift. Do you understand? There's no wrong and right. We all here to learn. If you make a mistake, just learn quickly. That's what I tell people. Don't repeat the same thing again and again and again and again. Why would you want to do that to yourself? Stop the nonsense. You have the power to change it if you just get in touch with consciousness. Anyway, she had this experience and she went there and she said, so she saw Wayne Dyer and she saw Louise Hayes, and Louise Hayes said to her, I don't know if you know, but Louise Hayes has done a soundtrack for people suffering from cancer. It's a brilliant soundtrack. My brother, when he had cancer, he listened to it all the time, every day, and he was in remission because of that 11 years ago. Anyway, so she wanted to meet her. She met her, and Louise Hayes said to her, you just have to call me, and I'll be watching you from above. You know, this is what our master said to us when he passed. He wrote this lovely note to all of us. He said, all you have to do is call me. And Lord Jesus said what? You remember? Ask, receive, seek, find, knock, and the door will be open. All saying the same thing, right? Why don't you just contact me? This is what all this practice is about. Anyway, so she met all these great souls, and all she felt was love. And she was shown while she was there that there were many different dimensions. It was just not the dimension she was in at the present moment, but there was much, much more. And she said she saw Lord Jesus, and Lord Jesus said to her, listen, I was just an ordinary man, and I lived by these great truths. And you are meant, all of you are meant to be the same. And this is what Advaita says. And this is what the teaching says, that we are all here to understand this great truth. This is the mission. How simple is that? And complicated so much. I'm not good enough, you're not good. We're all made from the same pot of clay, guys. maybe I've had a few lifetimes ahead, but that doesn't make me better. You got it? It doesn't make me better. It doesn't mean you don't have it. You could way past me, which is what I hope. And this is what we need to do, right? Up. Raise ourselves to understand, not for ourselves, but for the divine in us. And this is the journey we chose, because we came from that clay and we wanted to become something because we wanted to experience with the five senses. And she was told then that the five senses are given to us to learn, to enjoy the beauty of the world, to taste, to enjoy the smells and the hearing. But what has happened to us? We're never happy with what we have. So we want more. We want more of this. We want more of that. We don't know how to practice the middle path, moderation. So we go all wrong. Addictions happen, clinging happens, everything happens. She saw all this in her near-death experience. And then she was like going to, she said she saw the tunnel that she had read about. I don't know if you read the book Life After Life, Dr. Raymond Moody. He talks about the tunnel and light you have. In fact, while I'm right here, Gina has written a beautiful book called Whispers from the Universe, where she actually goes through the process. If she's going to have her books here soon. She goes through the process of the trauma of her own mental state, and from there shifting, suffering, shifting, going through all the pain, accepting the pain, and shifting from trauma to spiritual joy. Right? So she also covers the spectrum in her book. And while she's here, I'm sorry I had to plug that in, because I've read her book, and I think it was very brave, it's very honest. I think we need to be authentic about ourselves before we can grow. I think we can't pretend. I think we're reaching a new stage of spirituality where each one has to understand the personality they've been given, not trying to be anybody else. And really now, get back to source. That's all you have to do. Because if you get back to source, you will know how to behave. You will know what to do with your life. You will be guided. You just need to have that faith. And all you have to do is learn to live each day properly. That's all. And even shorter than that, each moment. Each moment. Because that's when we have a choice, at this moment. So if we, each moment, know how to train our minds and what to think, then we can prevent a lot of suffering for ourselves and others, prevent a lot of pain for ourselves and others, and create a world with much more peace and much more light and much more understanding. This is our human mission. We came to do that. We just got too greedy. And our egos got too big or too small. Because too small and ego is also not good. I am not good enough. You are good enough. Who told you you're not good enough? It's all these false stories we've been told. Anyway, so let me go back to my story of this wonderful person, because I was like so happy to hear these words when I saw her body so broken. And I just wanted to hug her. I was just so grateful that she found this before she left the earth. So she was going to this tunnel towards the light, and then she said, I can't yet. No mother should bury her daughter, right? I'm not yet ready to go. I haven't said goodbye to my mother, and my mother's been looking after me. You know, she lost her father when she was very young, and I can't leave yet without saying goodbye to my mother. So then suddenly she met her guardian angel. He said, who are you? She said I could use the name, Stefan. His name was Stefan. And he said, I'm Stefan, I'm your guardian angel. I've been with you all your life. I said, are you for real? And he said, yeah, I'm for real. You don't have to leave. You have a choice to, you can go back if you want to go back. But you need to realize what your mission is before you go back. And then she said, but am I dreaming this? He said, no, this is real. He said, didn't you notice that when you wanted to see Wayne Dyer and Louise Hay, you saw them? Because we higher spirits are working with you guys all the time. Don't you hear sometimes an inner voice and you don't listen? And he started to tell her of an occasion many years prior when she heard the voice, don't do this, don't do this. She did it because the ego got, I'm going to do it because I have to be right. And she got the voice, don't do it, don't do it. But she didn't listen to the don't do it. She listened, I got to be right. And he said, well, it was me talking to your higher self, because we connect at one level, we connect. When you say don't do it inside, I'm coming in and say, yes, I'm with you, but you don't hear me because your pride is too big. And then she said, I was so shocked because how would he know about that situation? And then she said, but I am, really look at my abdomen, it's totally swollen. I have to go back and be operated. Am I going to die? Because the doctors have said it's all black inside. And he said, no. He said, no. He said, we will get the healers. And she said, all of a sudden she saw this white liquid. She said it was bright white all over her abdomen. And then he told her, I want you to understand things. That when you live from the higher consciousness, you connect to the many dimensions, whichever higher dimension that you are in contact with. Whichever dimension, we hear everything. And you just have to know that you can contact this. You just have to know. So she went back to her body, and when she got to her body, she went back into a state of coma. So she could hear the nurse, and she could hear the machines, and she could hear everything, all the sounds, and she could hear the nurse leave the room. And she said, if this is really for real, I want you, Stefan, to bring the nurse right back in and check on my machine again. 2 seconds later, the nurse walked in, checked on the machine. She still didn't believe. She said, am I dreaming all of this? And he said, no, you're not dreaming any of this. This is just coming from a higher dimension, which you are in connection with when you want to be. So, she said, okay, I want the nurse to come back in again and put the blanket on me or whatever it was. And the nurse came back again. And then the nurse left. They had all the x-rays. They took her for her stomach operation. And of course, when they opened her up, there was nothing wrong with her. Poor thing, she had to go through the operation anyway, because they had all the x-rays before and they couldn't understand. And then she found it a little difficult she thought people will think she's crazy, but there was the proof. There was the proof. So she started talking to a few friends about it. The reason why I'm telling you this story is because often we just forget that we are part of the source. You know, sometimes I laugh. Andrew calls me and says, "Can you pray for this person? You have a direct contact, connection." You always say that to me, right? And I go, "So do you. So do you." But of course I'll pray. Of course I'll pray because I know I do. But I also know you do. I know everybody does. I really know that. Now you just got to know. Because, you know, I keep telling people, come to me for appointments. I'd love to help you and I will give you everything I know. Everything I know. I'm so happy to hand it down. But I can't do it for you. I wish I had a magic wand and I could say, "Hey, done." I can't. But you can do it for you. And this is the power, this is the source that each and every one of us has a responsibility to get back to. You know, how many times have we seen in our lives people cling on to other people to heal them? Never gonna happen, you know. Yes, people can help you, can get a bit of healing there and a bit of healing there, but we're all gonna die one day and nobody can heal you from that. So really start to find your mortality, understand why you're on this earth, but don't waste your life away. Enjoy your life in spirit, constantly be in touch. Constantly be in touch. How do you do that? The yogis tell us a very simple method. You don't have to do all these fancy things so you can be realized. You don't have to meditate 8 hours a day. Not everybody can do that. I have met many holy people in my life that can't meditate like I do, but they walk by the sea or they see the sky or they sing and they tell me, or they write music or they make videos and they tell me all this information comes through them like it's flowing through. And you tell me they're not connected just because they don't meditate like I do? Where's the judgment? Where have we gone wrong? Religion and yoga, all of us. Don't go wrong. Yes, I will tell you, meditation is a fantastic technique. Why? Because you're making time for yourself to be in stillness. Otherwise, you won't make time. But these people who run or do these things, they're very disciplined. They do it every day. And I think we all need to recognize that we're not here forever, and it is really important what we do with our life, how we live it. So we choose to live it in, service, love, and time for ourselves too, because we were born to do that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be put together. Time for ourselves too. Time to, when I'm having a nice meal with them, say, thank you, God, for giving us this experience. Do you see? You're constantly connected. You never separate from anything that you are doing. If I'm here, I feel equally blessed because I feel something works through me.